Mark's eyes snapped open in total darkness. His heart was pounding. Someone was coming. He held his breath and stayed perfectly still inside his locker. Through the tiny air holes, he could see flashlight beams dancing across the hallway walls. Footsteps. Voices. Getting closer. "That's not what we agreed on," a man's angry voice echoed through the empty school. Mark pressed himself against the cold metal wall. "Please don't find me," he thought. "Look, I am the one taking all the risk in this scheme of yours," another voice said nervously. Mark knew that voice. It was Principal Davis. But who was he talking to? And what scheme? "We have 1 week to prepare for the county health inspection," the first man continued. "And when we're done, you're going to be a very rich man. If you do as you're told." Mark's hand shook as he covered his mouth. "What was that?" the first man said suddenly. Mark's whole body went stiff with fear. "It's probably nothing," Principal Davis said quickly. "Just a mouse. Look, we got to go. Security's about to start their rounds again." The footsteps faded away. Mark waited in the darkness, counting to 100 before he dared to move. His legs were cramped and sore. This was Mark's secret. Every single night for the past 2 months, he slept at school. Not in a bed. Not in a room. But in locker number 247, curled up with only his backpack as a pillow. Nobody knew. Not the teachers. Not the other kids. Nobody. When morning came, Mark climbed out before anyone arrived. He washed his face in the bathroom and tried to fix his messy hair. Then he pretended to arrive early, like he'd just walked through the front doors. It wasn't perfect, but it was the only plan he had. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the school windows. Mark stood in front of his locker, tired from another night on the hard metal floor. He changed into his least dirty shirt. "Hello, hello!" a cheerful voice called down the hallway. Mark quickly shut his locker. It was Mrs. Hampton, one of the nice teachers. She was walking with her husband, a police officer in uniform. "This is the month it finally happens for us," Mrs. Hampton said excitedly. "I can't wait until we have a baby." "Let's not get too ahead of ourselves," her husband said gently. "Take it one day at a time." Mark felt a strange pain in his chest. They looked so happy together. He couldn't remember what that felt like anymore. "I know you're right," Mrs. Hampton said. "We've been waiting for so long." "It's going to happen when it's meant to happen," her husband promised. "I love you." Mark watched them hug. Once upon a time, his family had been like that. Happy. Together. But that was before the accident. He walked to the art room. This was his favorite place in the whole school. On the wall was a huge, colorful mural that wasn't finished yet. It showed kids playing and holding hands under a bright rainbow. Mark picked up a paintbrush and started adding more colors. His hand moved carefully, making every stroke perfect. "Look who it is!" a mean voice shouted behind him. Mark's heart sank. It was Tyler and his gang of bullies. "Why are you still painting this stupid mural?" Tyler laughed. "I need it to be perfect," Mark said quietly. "Why do you care?" Tyler grabbed Mark's paintbrush. "Give me this." "Don't. You're going to ruin it." "He stinks so bad," one of Tyler's friends said. It was true. Mark knew he smelled bad. When you sleep in a locker and only wash with hand soap, you don't smell good. But hearing them say it still hurt. "That's enough, Tyler." Miss Hanson's voice rang out. She was Mark's favorite teacher. "All of you, get to your classes now." The bullies ran away, laughing. "You okay, Mark?" Miss Hanson asked gently. Mark nodded, staring at the floor. "You came here pretty early this morning, huh?" "My aunt works the early shift," Mark lied. "So I'm always here early." "I see." Miss Hanson looked at him with worried eyes. "Well, let's get to class." As they walked together, Mark asked the question burning in his mind. "Miss Hanson, is the school going to be sold?" Miss Hanson stopped walking. "Sold? Of course not." "Why?" I heard Principal Davis and someone talking about it. Yesterday, after school. Well, I don't know what you heard, but you don't have to worry. Okay. But Mark was worried. Very worried. Because if the school closed, he would have nowhere to go. The school wasn't just where he learned. It was his home. His only home. In class, Miss Hanson was teaching when suddenly Mrs. Hampton knocked on the door. "Sorry, Miss Hanson," Mrs. Hampton said. Her face looked serious. "Could you and your students pack up? We're moving you to Miss Crawford's classroom." "Is everything okay?" "We found some asbestos in the furnace room. We're closing this wing until we know it's safe." Mark's blood ran cold. Asbestos? That was impossible. Unless those men last night had something to do with it. "Everyone, let's gather your stuff," Miss Hanson said. As the students packed, Tyler turned around. "Ew, were you sitting next to Stinky?" He laughed loudly. Other kids joined in. Mark felt his face turn red. They all crowded into Miss Crawford's classroom. All the teachers were there, looking worried. "How much asbestos is there?" one teacher asked. "Listen, everybody," Principal Davis said. "The city health inspector will be here this week. They'll check the entire school. Hopefully, the asbestos is only in the furnace room." "What if they find more?" another teacher asked. "If the problem is widespread, they'll close the school until it's removed." The room exploded with worried voices. How long would that take? Principal Davis cleared his throat. Truthfully, considering the cost to fix a building this old, they'd likely just sell the property and save taxpayers' money. "What about our jobs?" Mrs. Hampton asked. "Most of you would be reassigned to different schools." "Most of us. There aren't enough positions for everybody. Some would be let go." Mark watched Mrs. Hampton's face go pale. But Mark wasn't thinking about the teachers. He was thinking about himself. If the school closed, where would he sleep? Where would he go? His aunt didn't want him. She said he was just a burden. She didn't love him. Nobody did. Except maybe the school. The school had kept him safe. And now someone was trying to destroy it. Mark looked at the unfinished mural through the window. He thought about his sister, Daisy, who had started painting it before she died. He thought about the promise he'd made. He couldn't let the school close. He wouldn't. Somehow, Mark had to stop it. That afternoon, Mark pretended to leave school with everyone else. He waved goodbye to Miss Hanson and walked toward the front doors. But instead of going outside, he hid in the bathroom until the building got quiet. He had to find proof. Real proof that someone was making the school look dangerous when it wasn't. When the hallways were finally empty, Mark crept back toward the furnace room. His sneakers squeaked softly. Every shadow made him jump. Through the furnace room window, he could see workers in white suits putting something on the walls. But something felt wrong. Mark pressed himself against the wall, watching carefully. One of the workers pulled off his mask and laughed. "I want every room down there covered with that stuff." "Got it. Can we make it quick?" another worker complained. "We only have less than an hour before security comes back." "Relax. It's more than enough time to plant more of this stuff." "Plant?" Mark's eyes went wide. They were putting fake asbestos everywhere. This was the scheme. Mark's hands shook as he pulled out his phone. He had to record this. But just as he started recording, he heard footsteps behind him. "Hey, look at his busted shoes." Mark spun around. Tyler and his gang were there, grinning. "Your hair is a mess," another bully said. "Now you smell even worse than yesterday," Tyler said. "It's like body odor mixed with hand soap." "His stench is the reason they're shutting the school down," one laughed. "They're not going to shut down the school," Mark said desperately. "Why do you even care?" another bully said. "It's not like you have any friends." The words hit Mark hard. It was true. He had nothing except the school and the mural. Miss Hanson appeared suddenly. "Okay, let's take a seat," she said firmly. All of you, get moving. The boys scattered, but Tyler turned back. See you never, Stinky. The next day, chaos filled the school. More rooms had been closed because of asbestos. Everyone was scared. In Miss Hanson's class, students talked at once. Are they really going to shut down the school? Nothing's been decided yet, Miss Hanson said, but her voice wasn't sure. They'll close this place by Monday, one kid said. What's going to happen to us? A girl asked, tears in her eyes. If they shut down the school, you'll all be sent to different schools. No, they can't. What will happen to the mural? Mark asked quietly. The whole class turned to look at him. You guys hearing this? Tyler said. We're worried about losing our friends. He's worried about a stupid mural. Tyler, Miss Hanson said sharply. It's not about that, Tyler muttered. The mural, Mark said. You wouldn't understand. Miss Hanson looked at him carefully. Isn't that the shirt you wore yesterday? Mark felt his face burn. Yeah. My aunt's washing machine broke. I see. Miss Hanson's face softened. You said we could come to you if we needed help. You meant that, right? Of course. You can trust me, Mark. Mark took a deep breath. I heard something I shouldn't have. The asbestos thing is fake. Someone's making it look like there's a problem. I think Principal Davis knows. Miss Hanson blinked. Mark, it's not good to tell lies. I'm not lying. Your husband's a cop, right? Can't he do something? Why are you so worried about the school shutting down? Mark couldn't tell her the truth. That this was where he slept every night. It's where I meet my friends every day, he lied. Miss Hanson studied his face. My husband can't do anything unless we have actual evidence. I can get some for him, Mark said. That night, Mark hid in the computer lab. He'd brought his phone charger and was ready to record everything. The hours ticked by slowly. Mark's eyes felt heavy, but he had to stay awake. Finally, he heard voices in the hallway. What do you mean you have to come back again tonight? Principal Davis sounded angry and scared. Do I need to remind you what happens if the school doesn't fail the inspection? The other voice was cold. I'll lose a fortune. And if that happens, you'll be the one who pays. My guys will be here again tonight. So get rid of your security guards, or else. Okay, Principal Davis said weakly. Mark held his breath. Through the window, he could see them. Principal Davis looked terrified. The other man was tall and wearing an expensive suit. The man pulled out his phone. Look, this is going to happen. The school's going to shut down. The district is going to sell me the land cheap. And I'm going to make a fortune developing this whole place into luxury high-rises. Got it. Mark's phone was recording everything. He had the proof. But then Mark's foot slipped. He bumped into a desk, making a loud scraping sound. Both men turned toward the computer lab. Hey, there's a kid in there, the man in the suit shouted. Get him. Mark grabbed his phone and ran. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it would explode. Footsteps chased him. He ducked into the art room and hid behind a cabinet. The mural looked down at him in the darkness. His sister's face was there, painted in bright colors, smiling forever. This is all your fault, he heard Principal Davis shout. Don't hurt him. Just find him. I want you to get rid of them. Mark's hands shook as he tried to upload the video to the school's email. If he could just send it before they caught him. The door burst open. Is he in there? No, Principal Davis said. Well, find him. Whoever that was heard everything. Mark held his breath in the darkness. He'd sent the video to the school's general email. At least someone would see it. The next morning, Mark walked into school with his head down. He'd managed to sneak away last night. He'd hidden in the janitor's closet until morning. Hey, Stinky's back. Tyler's voice rang out. Mark tried to ignore him, but Tyler grabbed his backpack. "Is that my phone?" Tyler suddenly shouted. Mark's heart stopped. How did Tyler have his phone? "Miss Hanson." Tyler ran toward the teacher. "Mark stole my phone." "Give it back," Mark said desperately. "That's not yours." "Miss Hanson, I've got it." Tyler was grinning. Miss Hanson looked confused. "What's going on?" "I've got all the evidence on that phone," Mark said. "The video could save the school." "You mean the phone he stole?" Tyler said innocently. "That's not his phone," Mark shouted. Tyler pressed a button, and Mark watched in horror as his video disappeared. "Oh no," Tyler said with a fake sad face. "Not anymore. All of you, to the principal's office right now," Miss Hanson said. In Principal Davis's office, Mark's world fell apart. "Mark, your behavior has been inappropriate," Principal Davis said. "I have no choice but to expel you." "Expel?" Miss Hanson said, shocked. "He stole from another student. He started a fight. As of today, you are expelled, Mark. You are no longer welcome on school property. Forever." Mark's voice cracked. "That is what expulsion means. I've called your aunt. She says you're to walk directly home." Mark felt tears burning. He'd lost everything. His home. His mural. His sister's memory. Everything. As he walked out of the school for the last time, he looked back at the building. Somewhere inside was the mural he'd never finish. He was alone now. Completely alone. Mark walked down the empty street with nowhere to go. His backpack felt heavier than ever. The afternoon sun was bright and warm, but Mark felt cold inside. He couldn't go to his aunt's house. She didn't want him there. "I never even wanted a kid in the first place," she told him once. "I got stuck with you. All you've done since my sister got killed is cost me money." Mark's aunt blamed him for the accident. The car crash that killed his parents and his older sister, Daisy. Even though Mark had been in the car too. Even though he'd almost died. So Mark sat down on a bench outside a grocery store. Maybe he could sleep here tonight. Maybe he could find a new place to hide. A car pulled up suddenly. The window rolled down. Mark. It was Miss Hanson. Her husband was driving. "Are you okay? Why are you out here?" Mark looked down at his shoes. "The ones with holes in them. I lied before." "What do you mean?" Tears started falling down Mark's face. "I don't have anywhere to go. The school is my home. I sleep there. In my locker. Every single night." Miss Hanson's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears too. "I have nowhere else," Mark whispered. "My aunt doesn't want me. Nobody does." Miss Hanson got out of the car and knelt down. "Oh, Mark. I'm so sorry. I should have known." "What do we do?" her husband asked gently. Miss Hanson looked at Mark with kind eyes. "What if you come home with us? Just for tonight. We'll figure everything out. But you don't have to be alone anymore." Mark couldn't believe it. Someone actually cared. "Really?" he asked in a small voice. "Really," Miss Hanson promised. That night, Mark slept in a real bed for the first time in months. It was soft and warm, with clean sheets that smelled like flowers. Miss Hanson gave him pajamas that belonged to her husband. They were way too big, but Mark didn't care. He cried himself to sleep. But this time, they were different tears. Grateful tears. The next morning, Mark woke up to the smell of pancakes. Real pancakes. Miss Hanson was cooking breakfast while her husband sat at the table with his laptop. "Morning, buddy," Mr. Hanson said. "Come sit down. We need to talk." Mark's stomach dropped. Were they going to send him away? "Don't worry," Miss Hanson said quickly. "You're not in trouble. Actually, you might have saved the school." "What? How?" Mr. Hanson turned his laptop around. "You sent that video to the school's general email, right? Miss Hanson is the only one who checks those emails. She showed it to me last night. On the screen was the video Mark had recorded. The man in the expensive suit talking about shutting down the school and building luxury apartments. That video is great, Mr. Hanson said. But that's Alex Ross, one of the richest guys in the city. A man like that will have teams of lawyers. We need more proof. I think I know how we can get that, Miss Hanson said quietly. An hour later, they were sitting in Principal Davis's office. Mark's hands were shaking. But Miss Hanson wasn't afraid. She played the video on her phone. Principal Davis's face went white as he watched it. I don't know what you're talking about, he said when it ended. His voice was shaking. This is clearly you in the video, Henry, Miss Hanson said. That could be AI for all I know, Principal Davis said. Both of you need to drop this, or you'll both be fired. Henry, Miss Hanson said softly. I know you're a good person. There's still time to do the right thing. For a long moment, Principal Davis just stared at his desk. Mark could see tears forming in the man's eyes. He threatened my family, Principal Davis finally whispered. Alex Ross said he'd hurt them if I didn't help him. I was so scared. Then help us now, Mr. Hanson said gently. It's not too late. Principal Davis took a deep breath. Then he nodded. Okay. I'll tell you everything. But we need to move fast. The health inspection is tomorrow. The next day, news cameras were everywhere. Reporters crowded around the school entrance. Police cars filled the parking lot. Mark watched from inside as Mr. Hanson and other officers led Alex Ross out in handcuffs. Mr. Ross, we have a warrant for your arrest, Mr. Hanson said firmly. Sure you do, Alex Ross laughed. You're making a serious career mistake. You have nothing on me. Actually, we have everything, Mr. Hanson said. We spoke with Principal Davis. He told us everything. What? Alex Ross's face turned red with anger. That rat. Mark watched as the rich man who tried to destroy his school was put into a police car. Principal Davis was arrested too, but Mr. Hanson said he would get a lighter punishment because he'd helped them. The health inspector came that afternoon and checked the entire school. All the fake asbestos was removed. The school was declared completely safe. We're not closing, the teachers cheered. Students hugged each other and cried happy tears. Tyler even came up to Mark, looking embarrassed. Hey, Tyler said, staring at his shoes. I'm sorry. For everything. You saved the school, and I was just mean to you. I'm really sorry. Mark didn't know what to say. He just nodded. 2 weeks later, something amazing happened. Mark stood in front of the school with Miss Hanson, her husband, and a lady in a business suit. Mark, the lady said kindly. I'm from Child Protective Services. We've been looking into your situation. Your aunt has been collecting support money for you but not spending it on your care. Mark's eyes widened. She's going to face legal consequences, the lady continued. But the good news is, Mr. and Mrs. Hanson have applied to become your foster parents. If you want that too, we can start the process today. Mark looked at Miss Hanson. You want to adopt me? We would love to, Miss Hanson said, wiping tears from her eyes. If you'll have us. Mark couldn't speak. He just nodded over and over, crying and smiling at the same time. Mr. Hanson pulled him into a hug. Welcome to the family, son. 3 months later, the mural was finally finished. Mark stood back and looked at it with pride. Every color was perfect. Every face was smiling. And right in the center, painted in the brightest colors of all, was his sister Daisy. It's beautiful, Miss Hanson said, standing beside him. Your sister would be so proud. We're proud of you, Mr. Hanson added. The whole school had gathered for a special ceremony. The new principal stood at a microphone. This mural represents everything our school stands for, the principal said. Hope, community, and courage to do what's right. Mark showed us all what true bravery looks like. He didn't just save this school. He taught us what it means to never give up. Everyone clapped. Some people cheered. Tyler was there too, clapping the loudest. But Mark wasn't thinking about any of that. He was thinking about his sister. About the promise he'd made to finish what she'd started. "I did it, Daisy," he whispered, looking at her painted face. "I finished our mural." And for the first time in a very long time, Mark felt like he was truly home. If you enjoyed this story, please share it. Share it with your family, friends, or anyone who needs hope. And remember, if you know a child who seems sad or needs help, speak up. Be like Miss Hanson. Be the person who notices. Be the person who cares. You might just save someone's whole world.